Series of lectures will be about sections 4.4, additional equations and inequalities. Radical equations. Radical equations are ones that have a radical symbol in it. It can be as normal a square root, or it could be a cube root or something else. An equation containing a radical can frequently be converted to an equation that does not contain a radical by raising both sides of the equation to an appropriate power. What you have to do when you're doing that, though, is isolate a single radical. Isolate it. Get it by itself on one side of the equation. Then, if it's a square root, square both sides of the equation, or raise them to the third power if it's cubed or something. If a radical remains, then you go back and repeat steps 1 and 2. You solve the resulting equation. All solutions must be checked in the original equation. All solutions must be checked in the original equation. And only those that satisfy the original equation are actual solutions. That's because when you square both sides or cube both sides or fourth, whatever you need to do, you sometimes introduce some what we call extraneous solutions. Solving this one. First I have to isolate the variable. Isolate the radical. Here's the radical, but it's got the plus 5 with it. So I have to move that. The square root of x plus 7 will equal then x minus 5. Now I need to square both sides. Square all of both sides. So the square root of x plus 7, the quantity squared, just gives you x plus 7. But on this side, we've got x minus 5, the quantity squared. So we're squaring a binomial. Square the first term. Multiply them together would be negative 5x, double that, negative 10x, and square the last term, plus 25. Now I've got a quadratic equation. Get it on one side equal to 0. 0 equals x squared. Be minus x, so minus 11x, and it will be minus 7, so it'll be plus 18. Now, I can factor that. Multiplied together is 18. I need two things that multiply together to get 18, and add to negative 11. How about negative 2 and negative 9? So x squared minus 9x minus 2x plus 18. I can factor an x out and get x minus 9. Knowing I want a positive x minus 9, I'm going to factor a 2 out, and that will give me x minus 9. So x minus 2, the front terms, times x minus 9. X equals 2 and x equals 9 are my two solutions. But don't forget the bottom thing. You've got to check the solutions. So going up to the top, it will be the square root of 2 plus 7. Then add 5 to that, and it needs to equal 2. Well, square root of 9 is plus or minus 3. And when we're doing this, we're going to take just the positive plus x. So 3 plus 5, nope, we have to throw out this solution. So then 9 plus 7, square root of that, plus 5 equals 9. Well, this will be 16. The square root is 16. 4 plus 5 is 9. So kind of the rule here is when you're actually taking this square root, you take the positive one. Here's another one of those to solve, but notice this time we've got two radicals. This radical is isolated, so we're going to start by squaring both sides. And notice we're squaring the entire side over here. Now the square root of 2x minus 5 squared is 2x minus 5. That's nice. But on the other side, square the first term. 1 squared is 1. Multiply them together, I'll get a square root of x minus 3. Double that. So 2 times the square root of x minus 3. And then square the square the last term. Square root of x minus 3 times square root of x minus 3 is x minus 3. Now I combine like terms, and since I still have a radical in here, I need to isolate it. I'll subtract x from both sides. I'll have 1x. Here I have 1 and negative 3, so that's negative 2. Add 2 to both sides. I'll have negative 3 equals 2 times the square root of x minus 3. Because 2 can't divide into both of these, I'm going to go ahead and square both sides as they are. So I'm going to square this side, and I'm going to square this side. Now x minus 3 squared, square the first term, x squared. Multiplying together, negative 3x, double it, negative 6x. Square the last term, plus 9, equals, over here, the square, I give it to both the 2 on the outside and the square root. So 2 squared is 4 times the square root of x minus 3 squared is x minus 3. Now I want to get it on one side equal to 0, x squared. This will become a 4x, move it, a negative 10x. This will become minus 12, move it, plus 21 equals 0. That factors into x minus 7 times x minus 3 equals 0. This is negative 7 and negative 3 adds to negative 10. They multiply to 21. So x equals 7 and x equals 3. But of course I have to check my solutions. So 2 times 7, 14 minus 5, square root of that, equals 1 plus 7 minus, square root of 7 minus 3. Well, this will be 9, so square root of 9 is 3, equals 1 plus the square root of 4 is 2. So that one checks, and we check the 3. 2 times 3, 6 minus 5, square root of that, equals 1 plus the square root of 3 minus 3. Well, this will be 1 equals 1 plus square root of 0. 0. So that also checks, and we get to keep both of these answers. Another type of problem was ones with rational exponent. That means when the exponent is a fraction. Equations with rational exponents are solved by raising, again, both sides of the equation to a reciprocal power and considering positive and negative possibilities for even roots. So make sure you do both the positive and negative for even roots.